So, I want to try something just a little bit different today. As I'm preparing for this show, on my mind is a continuation of the theme from the last few days, really, about visibility, the resistance that we feel to showing up as our authentic self, and that process of letting everything go and just trusting that we are enough as we are to project our message out into the world. This has always been a core element of my coaching, but the challenge that I've had from a marketing perspective is how I go about crafting a message that resonates with my overall intentions, but still specifically talks to the daily challenges that my perfect client is experiencing. So today is all about another live brainstorming session of sorts where I can get this stuff out and hopefully start to make a little bit more sense in terms of how I can continue to hone down my message into something that is going to cut through that noise. If you resonate with this message and have had trouble letting your authentic self shine or trusting yourself with your authentic message, if you've been the one that has been resistant to raising your hand or creating video content, then I've got a special gift that might help you to start to make some progress towards allowing your authentic self to really come out. Over the years, I've done a lot of work in overcoming some of these challenges myself, and I've put together a few of the most successful strategies that I've used into a Google Doc that you can start applying in your own circumstance today. All you need to do is simply reach out to me, let me know where to send it, and I'll shoot it straight through, no strings attached. Hello, and welcome back to the From Zero to Marketing Hero podcast. My name's Paul Heron. I'm a life coach and entrepreneur. And over the last 5 years, I've been building a successful one-on-one coaching business. Over the past 5 years, I've predominantly outsourced my marketing. And I recently decided that this is the year that I'm going to try and figure this stuff out. And part of this process is me turning up every single day, creating, posting, uploading a podcast episode every single day to not only document the journey, but to give you guys a bit of a look at the highs and lows and hopefully provide a ton of value along the way. So without any further ado, let's get into today's episode where I want to explore, I've got written on my note here version 3, but it's probably more like version 10 of the core offer that I think suits my experience, my coaching, and what I am trying to achieve from this marketing process. And I think I'm getting closer to a message that really is going to land and resonate with the right person. So if you've been following along, I did this same exercise about 2 months ago now. So approximately day number 30 of this journey, but it was a little while ago. And at the time, I had managed to really narrow down. The message had transformed from absolutely anybody pretty much to people who were in business. And at the time, very much what was on my mind was people going through that transition from being an employee to an entrepreneur, working from home, and some of the challenges that are part and parcel of that journey of being completely responsible for everything that we're trying to put together. And I think that was great. I think it was a big step forward. One thing I noted though, in just reflecting back today on the core offer that I came up with at the time, was that the message was still very vague in terms of the promise that I was trying to help with. It was simply to help find and create your own unique recipe for success. And as I read that today, I was finding myself thinking, what does that even mean? And deep down, I know what it means. And I know that regardless of the challenges that are being experienced, there are so many similarities in terms of helping people find that confidence to be themselves, to start putting a plan in place that gets them moving from this place where they don't have certainty in terms of what they're capable of, to really reinforcing that belief that they can do anything. So I think I was kind of talking to the methods and the solution rather than the actual destination that I was hoping to help my clients move towards. And I think that's the one lesson that I've learned in the last couple of months through going through this process. No one is really interested in hearing about the process, particularly not at that early stage of coming across my content and my message. If I'm thinking about trying to cut through the noise and land on someone's radar, plain and generic just is not going to cut it. So as I approach this task again today, a couple of things have become a little bit more clear to me. First and foremost, it needs to be clear who it is for. And secondly, it needs to specifically be addressing a specific challenge that they are facing in the moment right now. In that initial communication, I don't want to be talking about processes and the technical how I'm going to go about doing this. I really just want to be calling out the situation. Hey, is this you? Are you experiencing this problem? And would you like to get to this destination? And it was a little bit of a light bulb moment again. I feel like I've had so many of these along this journey, but it just made sense in that moment. And I think this just brings me back to this feeling that I have that if I pick one specific problem, it means that I am excluding everybody else. And I had to quickly get myself over that, because the second realization is that I can have many marketing messages potentially, but right now in this part of my journey, I just need to focus on the very first one. So that's one way I was able to mitigate that fear that I have that by picking one thing, I'm excluding everybody else. And actually today that allowed me to really focus in and think through what's one problem that I can start to hone in on. And that is when I came back to the conversation that I've been talking about over the last few days about being visible, about public speaking in general, and the resistance, and even more than resistance, the anxiety that can really be crippling in terms of allowing us to continue to show up and make progress. And I know this all too well because this was my experience. Looking back over the last 5 years, and even beyond that, the last 20 years, trusting myself to be me, to allow me to just show up as me was a really difficult thing. Making phone calls in the past has been hugely difficult for me. Creating content like this would have been next to impossible only a few short years back. And I know that as a business owner, we don't necessarily have an awareness of everything that's required when we jump in. So this is something that can come up as a real hurdle after we've started our self-employed entrepreneurial journey. And I think this is the thing that I want to really get some clarity on and focus my message at. This is the thing that I've got some fantastic experience and knowledge in overcoming. I've got a ton of tools and strategies that can be applied. And more importantly than that, I think it is something that really would provide me with a level of satisfaction in helping people progress through this challenge. And it's measurable. If I'm talking to someone who can't hit record, and then we do some work together and go through a process of putting a structured plan in place that helps them develop a sense of certainty and trust in themselves, put a practice routine in place that might not necessarily start with hitting the record button, but doing the preparation, doing the groundwork that's going to eventually lead to the ability to be able to perform the things that they're wanting to do. And then eventually getting to that place where they can do the thing that once scared the absolute crap out of them. You know, that is progress. And that is exactly what I want to be doing. I want to be working with people who are willing to not shy away from some of the discomfort that's going to come along. I want to be able to help people really take ownership and accountability in the fact that, yes, it is going to be a little bit difficult to combat our fears and to face them head on. But I want to help people see that there is a power that you can hold when you realize that it is you yourself that gets to choose the difficulty level that you set. And I'm not sure whether that lands or makes sense. It does in my mind. And maybe I'm thinking and talking solution again, but ultimately I want to help people who are struggling to show up with letting their authentic self be visible to the world. And I want to help them feel comfortable enough to be able to do the things that they know are necessary to be a success in business. So effectively going from not being able to take action to taking action and doing the thing. And that is everything. And just talking about this, I can feel myself getting excited about the prospect of this doing my thing. And it's actually really funny because I haven't thought about this too much in the past, but this is the first time that I've been able to speak out loud about really narrowing down the thing that I do and not feel any resistance to everything else that might be out there. It's actually really interesting to just work through this process out loud right now. So with all this said, my goal for the next couple of days, the next week or so, is to really clarify and cement some of this stuff, potentially even come up with a a little post that I might post on social media. So you can keep an eye out for that over the next week or so. And to start creating some content in relation to this strategy. Exactly what I have been doing, very closely related. Over the past couple of months, I have spoken about continuous improvement strategies and daily planning tools that I put together. It's all very closely related. But I think as far as a marketing message goes and an offer that I'm going to start promoting and talking about, I think I'm getting closer with what I've spoken about today in terms of a message that's capable of cutting through the noise and really landing with the person who needs to hear it. And once I have all this together, it becomes a process of starting to validate and test this stuff, producing content, thinking about offers that are getting even more specific again, that I can potentially get people interested in downloading, and ultimately starting conversations. I'd love to talk with as many people that this message lands with as possible. So if this is you, if you're listening to this episode, you've made it through this far, and this is something that you have either experienced in the past and managed to overcome, or it's something that is a struggle for you right now, I would love to have a conversation and just pick your brain a little bit, potentially even get you onto the show to talk about this in a little bit more detail. But yeah, please reach out. I'd love to hear from you. The best place to find me and to reach me is through my website. It's paulheronlifecoaching.com. That's Heron with one R, Heron. And again, if this does resonate and you are interested in getting the steps that I use to overcome some of this stuff, I have put them together in a quick Google Doc. There's a 5-minute video sort of outlining how I've used these strategies as well. So if you're interested in what I use to overcome some of this stuff, just let me know where to send it and it's all yours. There's a ton of value there, and it might be the perfect place for you to start taking those first steps in moving in the right direction. Finally, if you are enjoying the show, it'd be awesome if you could take a moment to just hit pause and hit subscribe. It really does go a long way in helping share the show with a wider audience. And until tomorrow, bye for now.